Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK,
And I'm Courtney.
and I literally forgot what the word vaguely was for a second. I was like, what the?
I know. That's okay.
The other day I was talking to my dad and Dan, and I literally just stopped mid-sentence, and my dad said the word that I was trying to say because and Dan looked at me like I was an idiot. I go, sometimes I literally don't know words. They're just gone. Like I know them.
Yeah,
They're not there.
that's me. Sometimes when I'm working on like data annotation stuff, I have to type like a reply of like, how does this work? And I just look at Rachel and I'm like, what is a word that means this? Like I looked at it the other day and I said, what is the word that means gobbledy-gook? And she went, what?
Gibberish?
We figured that was the one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the one I wanted. And she did say that eventually after she registered that I was speaking to her and saying gobbledygook
See,
because it was out of nowhere. She was working and I was just like,
see,
stop
and
her in the middle of it.
that's how you know you and I have the same brain because I just immediately was like, oh, gibberish. Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
word that means.
right. Yep. Yeah. So,
So other than not functioning, how are you today?
well, as of this moment, I am okay. As of tonight, I am going to be mean and angry because I am doing a juice cleanse. I've never done one before. Let me start there.
Okay.
And this is terrible. I don't like this. I've learned.
Is that the one without cucumber that you were like, it's okay because you can drink it?
No, the other one's celery juice, and that one's fine. I
Okay.
have like 12 of those.
Oh,
I do
okay.
like those. I've had those before. It's just celery and lemon juice.
Yeah.
This one is vanilla almond non-dairy almond milk. So it has my almonds, dates, vanilla extract, and sea salt.
Ew.
Because it's so that I don't die. This is
Yeah.
one of my don't die today because you're not eating real food.
Yeah.
But it also says you're not supposed to drink coffee with it because it can affect because you're doing it for digestion, and so then the coffee would mess with your digestion. So maybe popping a lot of Advil and angrily eating apples later. We'll see.
Well, also, both coffee and dates do really interesting things to your digestive tract. So having coffee and its diuretic features with dates, which are like a natural laxative, you would just be sitting on the toilet for the fucking rest of your day and you would be liquid shitting because you're on a juice cleanse.
Yeah, it would be miserable. So I'm trying to follow the rules. But it's 11 a.m. So I'm okay still. But when it gets to like 6 p.m. probably, I'm going to be mean because I'll be hungry and I will have not had coffee. So I'll probably also have a headache. So
It's fair.
I'm okay right now, but stay tuned.
Yeah. Yesterday I had a chicken Caesar salad and then I just had grilled chicken with no sides for dinner. And Dan was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Well, since Monday, I didn't eat a single thing that wasn't carbs until 8 p.m. I think my body just said, fuck you. And so no, I'm not okay. I'm gonna eat a salad and some raw and some plain chicken and just hope I don't die."
Yeah, that's basically where I'm at. I've been feeling under the weather for like a week now, and I'm just like I don't understand it. So it actually works out timing wise really well because I have this day cleanse, and then I'm doing a 2-week green juice cleanse after where you just drink a green juice in the morning. It's nothing too crazy. I'll still eat food.
Yeah.
But it like basically leads me up to almost right at cruise time, and then I'll have my cruise, and then I'm gonna be traveling for like a month. And so I was like, this is the right time to do it. Like get my body back in order, and maybe like. While
And then
today
maybe
may suck,
do it again in September.
that's what I was thinking. Yeah, because I learned, which was dangerous. I learned that I could order from Press Juicery, which is my favorite juice place. And you just have to spend $120 to not pay shipping, and I got 50% off for being VIP. So I have way too much juice in my house.
I was gonna say, I was with my sister, I was with Gabby and Dan yesterday when I got your Snapchat that was your boxes of juices, and I showed them, and Gabby just goes, "Did she order 2 months or 2 weeks worth of juice?" And I was
Well, I
like,
ordered 2 weeks, and then I got like 10 other ones to try. So they're not all just for me too at this point.
I was like, well, I mean, you think about it, even if it's like a full juice cleanse, you can't have anything else. That's 3 meals a day times 2 weeks. That's 48 bottles of juice. My sister goes, yeah, per box. What the fuck is this?
No, they were really there was like 12 in a box or something, or like 20, maybe 18 in a box. Like they were really heavily packaged because they had to stay cold. And so they had so much cold stuff in there and like
Got
insulation.
it. That makes way more sense.
but I have to drink 6 today. This is not all vanilla almond, one vanilla almond. And then there's 2 citrus ones, one root one, and a chocolate one. So my day ends
That's
with chocolate. So at
yeah.
least there's that.
I good luck. I hope it tastes like chocolate.
I hope so too. It's supposed to be like chocolate almond milk, so surely it's fine. Like I just don't like vanilla almond milk, and that's what this is. It's not like it really tastes bad for what it is. I just don't like vanilla almond milk.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So how are you?
I'm pretty good. I've had like a really adulting week. I had a job interview on Monday, and then on Tuesday, I finished cleaning out the furniture of my classroom, and then had a meeting to sit down with the co-maid of honor for Brittany's wedding to talk about her bachelorette party and the plans for that. And then I yesterday had a meeting with a mortgage broker because Dan and I are gonna, try to buy a house in the next year. So like I've just been like an adult. And I literally looked at Dan at one point yesterday and go, oh, and then we left the mortgage broker and went grocery shopping to
Who are
buy
you?
to buy things so that we could have homemade salad for lunch instead of buying salads at a restaurant because that's too expensive. That's why my sister was like, "Hey, you didn't answer my text," and I was like, "Yeah, sorry, we were at Wegmans, we were getting lunch," and she was like, "Oh, what'd you get?" And I was like, "Well, we just got all the stuff. We're gonna make salad when we get home." And she goes, "What the fuck?" And I was like,
I'm
"Yeah, I don't
very
know.
proud of you.
Thank you."
Some days you just have to be a good adult.
Yeah. And then today I woke up at 8 o'clock and I played Travel Town for 2 hours.
Nice. I did. I woke up. Oh my God. I woke up at 3. And then I woke up at 5. And then I woke up at 7:30 and my room was hot. I think I have to sleep with my door open. I don't know. Because the rest of the house is not hot, but my room got hot.
Ooh.
Um,
See, my
and then I
problem
woke
was
up at 9:05.
between my air conditioning and my overhead fan, I'm very comfortable when I'm
Mm.
sleeping. But then when I wake up in the morning and I'm no longer that like overheated from being asleep, I wake up and the first thing I have to do is try to turn my fan off because I'm like,
See, I can't sleep with a fan on or my asthma tries to kill me in the middle of the night.
mm, yeah, I don't think
So,
that. The last time I took my inhaler was Monday before my job interview because I gave myself a panic attack. Not because I couldn't breathe, because I from the heat or the cold or the dust, because I couldn't breathe because I convinced myself I didn't know how to breathe.
yeah, that makes sense. That makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah, but so I'm actually pretty good. I am very nervous and like I'm like hoping that maybe I will get a phone call while we're recording this about a job. Um They did call my principal from my old school on Monday to and asked her to call them back, and she talked to them on Tuesday. And then the teacher that I did my first long-term sub for her maternity leave, the teacher that I did my very first like job, they talked to her today. She just texted me. So
Ooh.
they have called at least 2 of my 7 references.
God, if they call 7, I like
Well,
never,
I'm
never.
I'm
But
assuming I'm assuming that they're calling. So I have 4 that are written on my resume, and then on the like online thing where you can put additional references, I have three three separate ones that are on there. I'm guessing they're probably just calling the 4 that are on my resume. But if they
mhm,
do that, Kate's the last one.
that's exciting.
So
You're gonna
so
kill it. I have so much faith in you.
I'm like really, really trying to like keep my guard up and not be excited and not like hope for things because like if I don't get it, then I'm back to square one and everything I've
Right.
applied to hasn't called me back yet. But also yesterday was the last day of school for most schools. So
Right.
like I get that like right now is the time for them to start looking at applications. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, just breathe, just breathe. It's just because I'm like, I want a job, so I know my salary, so I can get my mortgage, so I can go house shopping because I need to know how much I'm spending on a house, so I know how much money I have left for the wedding, so I know how much money I have left for the honeymoon.
Yep. Yep.
So I'm being like really anal about things that are way beyond my control because I don't have school right now, so I have nothing to focus on mentally. Like I can clean and catch up on TV, but that doesn't do anything to my brain, so I will spiral.
Right.
So
Read a book.
I should.
Mhm.
While I'm spiraling. do you have any words to maybe bring me back to reality?
Sure, they're not related, but I love this quote, so I'm
Perfect.
giving it to you anyways.
So good.
If you don't get out of the box you've been raised in, you won't understand how much bigger the world is. Angelina Jolie.
I tell people that all the time.
Yeah, me too. That small
But
town life. Yo.
like I mean I technically live in a city, not a small town, but I live in a
Yeah.
city that is semi a suburb of another city that at one point was the biggest city in the country.
And your city seems to have like I obviously haven't been there yet. I will be soon.
Yes,
But like it has small town vibes.
it does. My city very much has
Yeah.
small time vibes, but like Buffalo is, one of the biggest.
Right.
So it's like the third biggest city in New York State. Like
Right. Like it's not small.
it's not small. It's 25 minutes away from my house.
Mhm.
There are people that I went to school with in Buffalo who had never been to Niagara Falls and people in Niagara Falls who have never been to Buffalo. And I'm like, it's 30
Yeah.
minutes. It's like literally a 20-minute drive. I don't
Mhm.
understand how. And I just think of it all as the same city because I like live in one and go to school in one or live in one and work in one. And so like in my mind, it's all just the same thing. It's like the difference between going from Queens to Manhattan.
Yeah.
But these people act like they're totally different things. And it's wild to me.
I mean, there are people in Queens who are like, I can't go to Manhattan.
That's true.
So,
That's true. There are people who in Manhattan who are like, ugh, I have to leave the island. No, thank you.
yeah. I will say I started being like, I can't go to Brooklyn because it would take an hour to get anywhere in Brooklyn
Well,
from where I was
I
in
mean, that's
Manhattan.
fair. When I lived in Queens and worked in Manhattan, it did take me an hour to get to work every
But
day.
Queens is an easy jump from Manhattan because they have first of all, they have the bridge and then they also have a really good direct line. There is no good
Yeah,
direct line from
that's
Upper
true.
East to like Brooklyn.
That's true. I took the Q from Astoria Ditmars to 13 or to Union Square and then walked
Right.
3 blocks to work. Like it took an hour because it was long, but I walked 2 blocks, got on the train, took it straight there, and then walked 3 blocks. So I don't have
Yeah.
anything to complain about compared to like trying to get anywhere in Brooklyn.
Yeah. Well, and it was easy when I lived in Brooklyn, where I lived to get to Union Square.
Yeah.
But anything else was too much, like basically.
Well, and that's the thing. From Queens, going to Times Square or Union Square were fine, but like if I needed to get to like the
West
where
Side.
the I don't even, yeah, but like if I needed to get the West Side or like when I needed to go from Queens to Harlem, it was much
Yeah.
less feasible.
Yeah. So here's your little tutorial for New York because we know you wanted it.
Yeah. Or,
But
the
yeah.
fact that you can drive 20 minutes to see Niagara Falls if you live in Buffalo and not act like it's a journey.
Yeah. I'm ready for you to take me to there.
You've never seen the falls at all, have you?
I haven't been to Buffalo.
So exciting.
The farthest north I've been in New York is Albany.
That's good.
I know. That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you.
All right. Well, now that you've gotten a geography lesson about New York State, we're going to talk today about Stargate SG-1 Season 6, Episode 4, Frozen.
Not the movie.
Not the movie. Before we really get into it, the spoiler that I gave you was that this was like real big future implications for the show.
I was trying so hard to remember what you had told me and couldn't for the life of me.
Yeah, which is actually funny because in an interview about the show, Joseph Malosi literally said that this episode will change everything about the show. He was like, just wait. So, but it was only rated 7.5 stars, and I really think it's because people don't get it. Like, I think the episode itself is not great.
Right. Well, and that's what I was gonna say. I think it's more of a hindsight better rating, probably
Yeah, like
during the moment.
there's some things about this episode that I absolutely love. There's some things about this episode that are not great, but the beauty of this episode is the information that you get and what it shows you later, which has nothing to do with the episode itself. So,
Right.
but it did come out on June 28th, 2002. So,
That's tomorrow.
22 years ago tomorrow. Um, so, um, the number one song all of our number ones have changed, finally.
Ooh, that's
Um,
exciting.
Actually, I'm going to start with the book because I don't care about the book. The number one book is The Beach House by James Patterson and Peter DeJong. So it's
I've
from
heard of that one. I haven't read it though.
yeah. The number one movie. I almost wore a specific outfit today just because of what the number one movie was. Because the number one movie was Mr. Deeds.
That is, I remember when that movie came out.
And I may or may not have bought
Oh yeah.
an Adam Sandler Eras Tour sweatshirt from the TikTok shop. But the problem is I haven't worn it on the podcast yet because it's been too fucking hot to wear a sweatshirt. So
Right.
stay tuned. In the future, you guys will see Adam Sandler's beautiful face. I'm obsessed.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
And the number one song in June of 2002 was Hot in Here by Nelly.
Yes, it was. Oh my God. You should have seen me. What day was it? Monday. I drove Rachel into work so that we could go get our nails done after work.
Yeah.
And somehow my DJ X guy put me onto that radio basically. My car played Hot in Here. It played Candy Shop. It played Shots. And I'm like rolling up into this therapy parking lot, like blaring Shots. And I walked inside and Rachel said something about partying. And I was like, you just don't even know. Because she was inside. I had her car. She was not with me. It was just me. But
yeah.
What a gem of a song.
Fantastic. The other day, so Dan and I have been like listening to all my like a bunch of Spotify playlists to like pick songs to put on our wedding playlist. And he is learning so much more about me as a person by doing this. Like Monday, when I aggressively sang the Lil Wayne verse of Down at him. Or the last week when I played No Hands by Waka Flocka, and he literally looked at me and said, with every word, he's like, the more you know the words, the worse it gets. And I was like, yeah. I was like, I don't know about you. I'm sure you were not this person because you were sheltered and a good child, but I was ratchet as hell in high school. So good luck.
I would not say I was ratchet, yeah. But I did know all of those words to all of those songs.
Yeah. I was ratchet. I used to like, yeah. The other things that are true on this day, I always check IBDB to see if there are any new Broadway shows that open that day. And
I'm sorry. Rewind.
What?
IBDB?
Yeah, the Internet Broadway Database. It's like IMDb, but for Broadway shows.
I did not know that existed.
Oh, yeah.
You've changed my life. Just to this moment.
So I check it every time to see if any Broadway shows open on the day or close on the day that we're recording. Or not recording, that show came out. But because the show airs on Fridays and nothing ever fucking opens on a Friday, I very rarely get to talk about Broadway shows. So
yeah.
Imagine my surprise when I open it and it says opening performance or opening production June 28th, 2002. I was like, oh my God. But then I scrolled down and it also said closing performance June 28th, 2002. And I was like, oh my God, a show opened and closed the same night.
Was it a concert version?
It was a benefit concert.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. But it was, in fact, called Something Good, a Broadway salute to Richard Rodgers for his 100th birthday.
Oh,
and
nice.
So it was a benefit concert to celebrate Richard Rodgers' 100th birthday, which also means that Richard Rodgers' 122nd birthday is tomorrow. So happy birthday. Happy 122nd birthday, Richard Rodgers.
R.I.P.
The other thing that happened this day was also music related, pretty fascinating. It was the opening day for the Glastonbury Festival of 2002, which I don't know if you know much about the Glastonbury Festival, but apparently 2002 was the most controversial year ever of the Glastonbury Festival because it came into new management who put a fence up around the festival.
I did hear about that. I heard about that probably the last couple years.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So 2002 was the year of the fence in Glastonbury, and this is the day that it opened.
Nice.
that is all I have for that day. It's fine. Those are both fun and interesting news stories. Nothing was
Fun facts.
depressing. Nothing was depressing or aggravating, so that made me happy.
Yeah.
And this episode was directed by Martin Wood, written by Robert C. Cooper, and edited by Eric Hill. So we are all good on that. Our guest star for this episode is weirdly probably not who you think it's going to be, because
It's not Ayana.
it is not Ayana. She is,
Hmm.
in fact, credited lower than all three of the Antarctic scientists. But our guest star is Venus Terzo, who plays Dr. Francine Michaels. She was known for Beast Wars Transformers, Da Vinci's Inquest, and Beast Machines Transformers. Her credits include mostly really, really small, like background roles, but lots of voiceover work. Particularly the fact that she was Rainbow Dash in all of the 2000s My Little Ponies movies and TV specials. So,
Nice. Nice.
she was also in one episode of Dead Like Me. She played Karen the lawyer. My guess is that Karen the lawyer died. I don't remember Karen the lawyer existing, so it's not a name. And I meant to look deeper into which episode it was and where Karen the lawyer was, but I didn't, and I'm pretty sure it's just somebody who died. Because
Yeah.
that's kind of how Dead Like Me is. The guest stars are the people who get reaped.
Yeah. What is her name?
Venus Terzo, Terzo. Oh, I finally got your picture.
Oh yeah, you see.
Oh, that's weird.
Isn't it weird?
Every time Zoom does an update, Courtney and I have to figure out what is happening. So just so you guys know, that's what the picture is about.
Because it's weird now. Yeah. Anyway, you can continue.
Yeah.
Am now in a lot of places in my brain.
Yeah. I pulled up the um I hate when you click on the link on Google and it takes you to a broad page instead of what you thought you were clicking on. That's really not my favorite. Yeah, I really didn't find a lot about her on the internet. She's again part of that like Canadian film uh idea.
Yeah. She's just in that little crew.
Oh, Karen the lawyer was the divorce lawyer for Reggie or for Joy and Clancy. Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
This was the episode where Rude was in the post office all day for no reason. Um, yeah, so she played yeah, Clancy and Joy's divorce lawyer. Yeah, divorce lawyer. I couldn't find anything about her on the internet. She's one of those small Canadian voice actress people who doesn't keep her public life super public, which is absolutely fine, to each their own. I feel that with the people that we're like looking up for Stargate, because the show is so old and we've gotten most of the like big stars out of the way, other than when we have like a new recurring character, our guest stars are all kind of people that like acting's really not like their main shtick in terms of like who they are on the internet, and like that's cool. Good for you. I sometimes wish I was less on the internet. So
I hear that. I feel that every day.
So this episode begins with Dr. Michaels talking to Sam, and she is in the Antarctic Research Center that they have, and they have found something, but she thinks it's probably just a dead seal, and so she's like, we're gonna close up. It's about to be that time of the year where it's dark for 24 hours a day, and so like we're not gonna be able to do any more research. We're done for the season. And we don't know if we're coming back because it's all dependent on the Pentagon deciding our budget is worth it.
Right.
And we learn So remember how I told you there was some plot hole issues with the DHD that we would get like sprinkled in through the whole thing? This is one of them. So we learn now that the reason they don't use the DHD, even though they now have it because they found it in Antarctica, is that it doesn't work.
Mhm.
They brought it to Area 51 and it ran out of power. And this is their first indication that anything in terms of Stargate technology has like a life source, a power source, a time limit on its battery,
Right.
per se. But that they also believe that based on the depletion of the power, that the DHD from the Antarctic Gate is the oldest piece of tech that they found at all, and that it's 50 million years old. Um, but so they're discussing this and they're talking about what they're going to do. And while they come in, the two other scientists who are working with Dr. Michaels, who I believe are Dr. Woods, and I don't remember the other one's name. I wrote it down somewhere, but they come in and say that the thing that they found is in fact something. And then we get,
Yeah, they're like, it's been ages. And they're like, JK, we found something.
yeah,
We're here.
then we get the credits. And at this point, the audience, we have no idea what they found, but it's big enough that she thought it was a dead seal. So, like,
Yeah.
did you have any thoughts or speculation of what it was in that moment?
I mean, I thought it might be like an alien of sorts that had been frozen. I didn't really know exactly what to think, and we got a pretty quick answer.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a lot of time to stew over it, but I did at first think like maybe an alien. I figured it had to be something living.
Right.
That was pretty much what I had come to the conclusion of before we found out what it was.
Yeah, based on the episode being called Frozen and the fact that we started an intro with people we didn't meet to find something big, it had to be something either like crazy technology or still alive. Like those are really the only two options there. But so Dr. Fraser and SG-1 arrive in Antarctica to join the team there, and Jack is not thrilled to be back. If you will remember, the last time Jack was in Antarctica was in season 1 when Jack was trapped in Antarctica and almost died. So he's really not super happy about that.
Yeah.
And Jonas does not like the forecast. He's very nervous, which is so cute because I like that that's like a continuing through line that Jonas is weirdly obsessed with the weather.
Yeah.
Which Sam even says, she was like, sorry, he's kind of a weather freak. And Dr. Michaels is like that he's gonna love it down here.
He's gonna have a great time.
So the team heads into the quarantine lab because to find or to see the specimen that they found. And it is a presumably female who has been buried in the ice for several million years, which is about to have some mind-blowing scientific implications. In this scene, they discuss the fact that the oldest record they have of human life is at maximum 800,000 years old. And that the glaciers freezing in Antarctica is only like 3 million years past. And this human-esque figure has been frozen for longer, has been there for longer than either of those numbers, which is
crazy town.
Wild. So Francine had taken a tissue sample to examine it, and Janet and she gives it to Janet to examine as well. And Janet is very confused and excited and mind blown and says what she thinks. And then Francine is, of course, excited because she was hoping that that's what Janet would say. But Janet says that the tissue is still alive. Like the cells in the tissue are not crystallized. They could have literally just been taken off of literally anybody else's skin at that moment. She is 100% still alive.
Yeah. First I thought I feel like we haven't seen enough Janet lately. That was my first note for this scene. But yeah, I was like, yeah, I mean, if you find a body, it's gotta be alive. Like there's no, what's the point otherwise, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So
So they're they start to unfreeze her to like see this tissue, and they're so impressed with her preservation in the tissue that in the frozen that like Janet starts to like test her pupil dilation, and they're
Mhm.
responding completely correctly. And so they grab Sam and do a test to measure her brainwave activity, and she is not only still alive, but still like not like she's unconscious, but she still has like
Right.
massive brain
Brain power.
activity
Yeah.
as like not like basically like not comatose, just unconscious. Like
Yeah. It's like she's taking a nap,
which is
a really long nap.
I looked at Dan and I was like, "Do you want to go and take a nap for in the ice for several million years and see what happens with your brain activity when you come back?" And he goes, "No." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, guess you don't care about science." Um,
Dan.
'Cause
Oh, Dan.
no, I asked him if he could imagine it, and he was like, "No." What? It's like, "Oh, weird. You don't think about what that would feel like."
Shows the difference
I was like,
between
sometimes the
people.
questions that I ask him say way more about me than they do.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Um, so they heat her up and they like get her out, and she's like they're trying to like resuscitate her, but she just like starts breathing on her own as soon as she's warm enough, which is also fucking wild. So they test her and she's not old at all. Um, and so now they like need to prove the age of the ice because like she might prove that Earth isn't the origin point of human life in the galaxy.
That's like a really big thing.
Right. Like that's they just
Yeah.
kind of gloss over that fact, and they talk a couple times about human evolution and things like that, but they like gloss over the fact that they literally just prove that human life doesn't originate on Earth,
Right.
which is why I said like kind of a big deal. Also, I skipped this earlier. They decided to name her Ayana, which is
Yeah.
A Native American word for the eternal bloom, which is very pretty.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, they said that in the episode. Francine
I believe
says,
that.
yeah, Francine says that that's where she came from, and Jonas is like, "Oh, are you Native American?" And she goes, My grandfather was one quarter Cherokee,"
Hmm.
which is actually a roast of Chris Judge, who um, incorrectly told the producers that his grandfather was one quarter Cherokee.
That's really funny. I vaguely remember hearing that. I watched it 2 days ago, and that didn't stick in my brain as much as
Yeah,
everything else.
no, it only stuck in
But
my brain because I knew the trivia of the fact that they were doing it because Chris Judge said that one time.
yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Um, but so when she wakes up, Jonas tries to talk to her because Jonas is, taking over the Daniel role of communicating with people, but
That's my next
he,
note.
he's not quite as good at it as Daniel. Like this shows that he has the ability to communicate and the ability to get unnaturally attached to people too quickly, which both
Right.
scream Daniel, but he's not quite as good. Like it never occurs to him that the reason she can't understand him isn't because she's stupid, it's because she speaks a different language. Like that never
Yeah.
occurs to him at all. And I'm like, that's where we miss Daniel.
Right. Like he's like, there's no way that she would be advanced enough to understand what I'm saying. But I'm like, bro, she created people.
But the other thing is, if
So
Daniel was there, we know that Daniel knows the language of the ancients. We found it on the
yeah.
on Torment of Tantalus, in that the thing with the four races, where he got all that thing. He knows that Jack had the ancient database in his head. He knows that there is another language, and Daniel is the
Mhm.
kind of person who would immediately jump to the conclusion that this was an ancient person and start using what he knew of that language to communicate. I think if Daniel was still here, they would have then made him wrong
Yeah, yeah.
because that's what they do. But because we didn't have Daniel to, I don't know, figure out what was actually happening, we just have Jonas speaking English and like not sign language at this girl.
Right.
Um, And she's like trying to figure out what they're saying, but she's super irritated by the medical tape on her arm. And so when they go to take it off and discover that like she's totally healed, there is no scar or cut at all from the tissue sample, which happened, I don't know, 10 hours ago.
Mhm.
Um, so that's concerning. Also, the storm that Jonas was worried about is moving in faster than anticipated. Because why wouldn't we also have like a storm when we're in
Right.
Antarctica? Couldn't have just like one crazy shit happening in an episode of
Right.
Stargate. There has to
Well,
be
I mean, what else is going to happen in Antarctica though? Like, it's not like somebody's going to attack you.
right. No, but I'm saying like
Like,
it's bad enough that
yeah,
we're dealing with the crazy alien like shit. We also need a storm. We can't just have like
that's
a
true.
single plot line happening in the show.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so Jack calls to the other guys who are out looking testing the ice and is like, hey, like come back. The storm's coming. And they're like, we'll be there in a couple hours, which is a choice.
I would be like, yep, I'm 5 minutes away. See you soon.
Yeah.
I already decided that I was not going to stay out here in this chaos.
But then again, you are not a research scientist in Antarctica for probably that reason.
That is probably true. But also, after you've been out there for months and this is the only thing you found, like, I might be like, the next few hours, it's probably okay to call it a wash.
Yeah.
Let's study the thing we found.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And then go back tomorrow when the storm is going to try again. Maybe the storm washed some more stuff in.
Fair enough. They think Ayana might be hiding something, which was a weird twist where they like suddenly were like, maybe she does know what we're saying, she's just hiding something. And then they like completely got rid of that within like 5 minutes of saying that. Because they needed more dialogue for the episode, I guess. And Jonas just keeps trying to talk to her. And Sam and Janet are now, these are the Sam and Janet scenes are my favorite scenes because they're the ones where we get all the information that will then be important later. They're discussing what Ayana could be. And this is when they discover that her brain waves are the same as both Jack's when he had the ancient repository in his head and Cassandra's when Nirti was like manipulating her brain energy. So they're like geeking.
So here, I wasn't sure if they were trying to bring back a Nirti storyline in or if they were just using it as a comparison.
They were just using it as a comparison, which I mean, by the end of the episode, we see that hasn't really brought anything in. And we do know that Nirti's out there somewhere, so it's not like...
Right. Well, that's what I thought. I thought this was going to be like, this is a way to bring her storyline back.
Oh, I see. You were thinking that like maybe the whole like taking over the what she did to Cassandra was what was happening to Ayana, and they were going to like, I see. But they kind of rule that out in the way that they talk about it because it more closely matches Jack's than Cassandra's. And basically they know that what Nirti was trying to do to Cassandra was to replicate what they knew of the ancients to try to make humans more advanced, to have her own little army. Because we also know things that we know about the ancients at this point in the series. We know that the ancients are actually the ones who created the Stargate. We know that the ancients are more advanced than the Goa'uld, and probably even more advanced than the Asgard. We just know nothing about them or where they are or how anything happened to them. Can you still hear me? I see you're like messing with your headphones.
I switched you to my computer because my headphones told me they were dying. And so I was trying to figure if I could still do both. But for now, you're on my computer. So I'm going to get my other headphones situated.
Okay. Do you want me to keep talking while you're doing that?
Yes.
Okay. So we don't know. We know all these like random details about the ancients that like kind of lead to a bigger picture, but we don't have an answer about them yet. This is the first time we've seen a person who may or may not be an ancient. So it's kind of like, but we know that the ancients are what Nirti was trying to replicate. So while Nirti could come back, it might be reminding us that she's still out there. She wasn't really involved in this particular arc.
Right.
Which is fine. But the thing that they figure out is that because we have now determined that human life did not originate on Earth, we've also figured out that the evolution of humans and like this ability to get smarter as time goes on is cyclical, and this is not like where we are now in 2002 is not the first time humans have been that advanced,
Mhm.
but we haven't reached the peak that the ancients got to.
Right.
So, you know, this is
Didn't
the
they make a joke about Darwin at some point in time too? Or did
oh,
I just think that in my brain?
no, they did. They were explaining to Jack what was happening with Ayana and
Mhm.
who she was, and how she was probably proof that humans didn't exist on Earth, and that humans evolved in a different way than we think they did. And Jack just goes, Darwin would be crushed.
That's what it was. I was like, there was something about Darwin. I don't know what it was
Yeah.
though. But yeah.
And then Dan, because sometimes Dan does not understand dry sense of humor, which is hard to imagine because occasionally I say things to him and he genuinely doesn't get that I'm
Yeah.
fucking around with him. It's really funny. He started going off about how Darwin was just working with the information he had and like he wasn't. I was like, damn, no one doesn't know that. Like no one's saying Darwin was stupid. They're just, oh my God. I love him so much.
Bless his
He's
heart.
so dumb. Um, so Um, as they're having this conversation about her, what it would mean for science to have a living ancient with
Mhm.
them, Francine just fucking collapses in the quarantine room. So Janet runs to take care of her, and it turns out that she has a high fever, and they have no idea what caused it. But until they do, they are quarantined on the base, and they cannot get picked up and rescued from Antarctica.
Woohoo! Yay.
Yeah. Um, then to make things worse, Woods and Osborne, the scientists that are out in the ice, are no longer responding to any of the radio calls, and they have been exposed to the specimen for as long as Francine has. Good times.
What a time.
Osborne does suddenly return, um, but he's very sick, and Woods is not with him. So Jack and Teal'c go out into the storm to find him because what else are they
Of
gonna
course they
do?
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and Jonas tells Ayana everything that's happening because why would you not just like? And here's the thing. Obviously, I know she's not a bad person. She doesn't have
Right.
any control over this virus. She wants to help them. But like, you don't know her. She hasn't spoken a
Right.
single word to you, and you're just like, yeah, everybody's gonna die.
Which at this point he also doesn't think she can understand. So
Right.
like
Fair
at least
enough.
his brain isn't crazy off the rails,
He's
but
like
also
trauma. It's like trauma dumping to a child. They don't know what the fuck you're
yeah,
talking about.
right.
Um, but she does understand him and gets very upset because she doesn't want anybody to be hurt. And she expresses in whatever way she can that she has no memory from before the ice. Like she clearly has a personality and a moral compass and like a heart and everything,
Hmm.
but she has no memories to speak of.
Right. Which I mean,
Um,
that's a really long time to retain memories. I don't have memories after like a couple of days. So
right.
like,
But it's also interesting because I hate things that like depict memory loss as like this sudden inability to not be the same person anymore.
yeah.
Like just because she doesn't have memories doesn't mean that she like is a complete blank slate. Her personality and her moral compass and like those parts of her like those fused synapses in her brain still exist. She just doesn't really know how to
Mhm.
explain them.
Yeah.
Um, but so Janet still can't help Francine. Antibiotics aren't working, and she comes to the conclusion that whatever this sickness is, it's viral, but she has no clue what it is or how to stop it. Um, because we know viruses can't die, they can just be
Yep.
subdued or counteracted, and we don't even know what the virus is to know how to do that. Um, Then they do, in fact, while they're doing this, they're still doing all the science because what the fuck else are they going to do? So they do test the ice cultures and they show that Ayana is in fact at least as old as the gate being in Antarctica. So like she was part of the same ice that kept that like froze the Stargate in place.
Right. So they're not really great scientists if they didn't find her yet. And they actually, she just suddenly was there.
Yeah, they do say this is the fourth year that they've been there and they found two Jaffa already in much deeper or like much less old ice. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, to be fair, Antarctica is a big place
Right.
with a lot of ice. And just because she was in the same like time frame of glacial melting doesn't mean that she was next to the Stargate.
But it also makes it feel like they could have waited 6 hours to go out and keep searching instead of going out into a storm.
Probably. But then also then they would have had a virus and been dying, so they wouldn't have found anything anyway.
Yeah, well, can't do nothing about that.
So O'Neill and Tilk are still looking for Woods. We see them out in the ice. Then Janet explains to Jonas that he needs to hurry up with his like memory search because they need answers because they have no way to save these people. Um, and Jack and Teal'c find Woods, but he's in hypothermic shock. And so they like rush him back to the hospital. But between how long he was out in the ice and this virus, he's like past, like he's in VFib. His toes are like black and purple. Like he's got necrotic toenails. Like we don't know what the fuck is going to happen. So they start trying to revive him, but Ayana just like moves them over and steps in and just places her hands on his chest and heals the virus.
Yep. It's a cool trick.
It's a great trick, magic.
Mhm.
It's like force healing. And then Ayana tells, and by tells I mean like answers Jonas's questions and nods her head and stuff. But she tells Jonas that she knows what she did, but she doesn't know how she did it. Um, but she'll still try to help because Francine is so sick. They need her to help Francine and Osborne. So she does, she heals them. However, healing them like decimated her body basically, and her white blood cell count is like half of what it should be, and she's like too exhausted to function. Um, and they know that the rest of them are going to also get sick, and she probably won't be able to heal everyone. So Francine is going to run tests to look for antibody markers to try to see if they can like organically come up with something to
Yeah.
fight off the virus in everyone else. And Janet tells Teal'c he has to do Calnorine because otherwise his immune system will not survive. He will also get sick. As of right now, he's the only one who can't get sick, but if he doesn't recharge, he will.
Mm.
And so then the four humans who are not healed are going to go sleep to try to save themselves for as long as possible. Um, Ayana wakes up and learns that everyone is sick and is very distressed and puts Osborne to sleep, like knocks him out so she can sneak out. And she heals Janet and Sam. And then she heads toward the guy's bunk and she heals Jonas, but she collapses before she can get to Jack.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, the storm has passed and the disease control team can get there now, and they take Jack and Ayana in quarantine pods, and everyone else flies back to the SGC. But back at the SGC, Jack is still very, very sick. And Ayana is also sick and is not capable of healing herself. And they talk about the fact that this virus, now that they've had some time to study it and everything, this virus is acting very much like a spinal meningitis, and so it's attacking the brain. And despite the fact that physiologically she's basically human, her brain chemistry is very, very different. And so she may not have the ability to counteract it in the more complicated brain structure, which is why she can't fight it for herself. Which I do appreciate when they give us like a scientific reason why things like that happen that is actually like logical. Because sometimes science fiction shows just like are like, because, and there's no reason for things to work the way that they do. But this show, at least sometimes the science is wonky because, of course, it is. But they at least like attempt to give you some science.
Mm-hmm.
The Tok'ra are going to send help, but it might be too late. Jack is not doing well. Ayana wakes up for a minute and Jonas is talking to her and he is having a like sad moment and telling her that he wants her to live. And she says sorry, which is one of the only English words that she has learned at this point, and then flatlines. The on Jack's side of the issue, the Tok'ra have arrived and they are going to offer Jack a symbiote, and which we all know how Jack feels about snakeheads. So they basically say that this would be mutually beneficial because it would heal Jack's body and give them a chance to get the information that they need from the mission that the Tok'ra, like that the Tok'ra symbiote was on in its former host body that passed away. And that they promised that that if they could not find a like that it would be temporary and that they would do it until they could find a host, and that if they could not find a host, this Tok'ra would basically let itself die once it got all its information out, rather than stay in an unwilling host, because we know the Tok'ra do not want to be the Goa'uld. They do not want to be in a host that does not want them. So Sam is like, everybody's kind of like, we have to do this, it'll save Jack. And Sam's like, but we really can't do that without his permission. Like, he would never forgive us. So she wakes him up. They give him enough like epi to like wake him up just to have this conversation. And she tells him what's going on and she asks him about it. And he says, over my dead body. And then she starts to cry and explains that the Tok'ra has promised not to stay. And then I start to cry because the Sam and Jack's theme starts playing. And then and then they go ahead with it. And Dan looks at me and goes, you got a yes from that head movement? That was enough? That was an okay? I don't understand. Jack would be so mad. And I was like, don't you understand? He did it for Sam. They were playing their love theme. He doesn't want to leave her. And he was like, I fucking hate you. Like, fine, whatever.
You're not wrong though.
Yeah, no, I was like, but my note literally says Jack says no, but he does it anyway for Sam. So yeah, because poor Sam, everyone in her life is technically dead except for that there's a Tok'ra in their head. Everyone that she loves is now. I mean, Daniel's dead but not dead. He's somewhere, being a different dimension of being. Teal'c is being kept alive by a symbiote. Her father is being kept alive by a symbiote. And now Jack is being kept alive by a symbiote. Poor fucking Sam.
Janet. She is Janet.
She does have Janet. She has Janet. Her and Janet are just
human besties.
Surviving. Trying to survive everyone else they love being either an alien, because Cassandra's technically an alien. She's human, but she's technically an alien. Jonas is an alien. So it's just General Hammond and Janet and Sam just trying to fucking make it every day.
Yep.
Yeah, and so then we see Jack being taken away to the Tok'ra homeworld to get his new symbiote. And that is the end of the episode.
That's not a two-parter, but it feels like a two-parter.
It sure does. Yeah, how are you feeling after that?
I have a lot of feelings. I don't even know that I can articulate them, but I don't know, because like I don't know. I like, it's weird, but because I know that Jack doesn't love it, but also like, what happens? Can the symbiote fully heal him? Like, we don't know a lot about this disease, so like, what if it can't? What if he has to like keep it in him forever just because? But also like, what if he's just gonna keep it in him forever anyways? Like, does he go join the Toker? I know he doesn't stay in SG forever. Like I know that he doesn't stay in SGC forever. And is that how they like end his storyline? Is that he goes and joins the Tok'ra? Like I don't. I'm aghast.
I know.
I just don't know.
I did tell you this was a big episode for the future, and now it's like, okay, but like how big? How much future? What are we
Right.
talking about?
Like, is it going to be like the rest of the season he has a symbiote in him, he's healed, the symbiote gets the information out, the end of the season is him getting rid of the symbiote? Like, is it a season long? Is it the rest of his life? Like, what is there? There's a lot of possibilities
There are a
here.
lot of possibilities. There are so many questions, and I have no answers for you. Um,
Just distraught. It's fine.
just, um, yeah, well, I will just tell you that the next episode is an Earthbound episode, which means that the the Jack story is probably not the major one.
Stargate's canceled. I can't. I can't with them.
Um, wait. Yeah, in fact, Jeff will not be in the episode at all. So you know.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Throwing it away. Throwing it away completely.
Yeah. So we will. It's a good episode. It's just completely on not going to answer the question that you asked.
Let me call my buddy Joe Mo, and have some words with him.
Well, who do you want to punch other than
Well,
me and
currently,
other than me and Joseph
yeah,
Malozzi? Like, who would you like to punch?
right. Oh, gosh. Part of me, this isn't fair, but I want to punch Ayana.
Yeah.
I understand it's not her fault. I understand that she was frozen for millions of years and has no idea what's going on. But
Yeah.
a lot of bad things have happened because of her now. And
Fair.
nobody else is really like super punchable, except maybe the guys that did not come back in from their research. But so I guess Ayana, even though I don't hate her, but maybe would punch her once.
My punch is also not someone I hate or someone I think did anything really wrong. It's just someone that I wish that they were different. And that is Jonas, because this is one of the few episodes where, I mean, at least that's the only one so far that we've seen that I just really wish Jonas was Daniel.
I know.
I mean, and the thing is, like, obviously, different characters, different styles. You have to do that thing. It doesn't make any sense if you don't. And like, I loved Jonas as a character. I love him, and I like a lot of people don't, but I do. Like, and I love what he did last episode. But this is the one episode so far that I'm really just like, yeah. But if you were Daniel, this wouldn't have happened.
Right.
So
Right.
it's again not necessarily his fault. I just don't like
Yeah.
how things went down.
Totally fair. Totally fair.
So who's your MVP?
Sam. She just is kind of keeping the crew together, and she knows that Jack's gonna have to take the symbiote, and she's got to be the one to like make sure she gets him to fully accept it without just doing it on a whim. So
Yeah.
I just love Sam.
I picked Janet for a lot of the same reasons. Obviously, like my favorite moment of the episode is obviously Sam and Jack because I am a simp and I don't care.
Right.
But other than that I think really Janet is the one who comes up with all the answers. She's the one who figures out that Ayana is an ancient. She's the one who figures out that we have a virus we have to deal with. She is calling the shots and taking names and making decisions. I love that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So Well, other than the fact that I have ruined your life and made you not want to watch the show next week at all. But I mean, for some inside baseball, just so you guys know, it is now summer, and currently I am not working because it's summer, and Courtney is not working a day job because she's that's where she's at in life. So we have decided to do extra
Stockpiling.
some extra stockpiling in case shit gets real crazy as we head toward the end of summer and the new school year and everything. So next week, when Courtney watches this horrible episode that she's not looking forward to, she's also going to watch another episode before I can give her a spoiler. So episode 6, you don't get a spoiler for, really. So I can give you
I guess you could give them a spoiler.
that's true. I can give them a spoiler. It won't really be a spoiler for Courtney. It will just be like a spoiler for um the uh the audience. And actually I may just read IMDb's like description of it because it's really good.
Ooh, exciting.
Because it's a very teasery, weirdly.
Interesting, interesting.
Yeah. So, with that, if you would like to talk to us, if you have theories about what's going to happen to Jack in the future or what else we need to know about the agents, you can email us at deathandaliens@gmail.com. And you can follow us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can find me anywhere at ENKAY_superstar.
And you can find me at CE Cloud 13.
I love that you do the little every time you do
I know,
it.
it just happens sometimes. I just get a little into it. I don't know.
And yeah, we will see you guys on Thursday for our next episode of Thriller Thursday. Bye.